Hello crochet friends, and welcome to G Crochet Off the Hook. I'm G, Geraldine, sharing my love of crochet. Now if I didn't take this moment right now, this very moment, to just sit down and push this button and decide, without any scripting or planning or anything else, to just sit down and take a moment to chat to you all, another week will go by and I won't have that joyful moment, just that little joyful moment of sharing some crochet talk with you all. I'm not going to go into details of my situation, but we find ourselves living in a bit of disappointing chaos, and the whole of last week, unfortunately, that journey is still playing itself out, but it has been energy draining and totally cray-cray, and I'm leaving it right there, and I'm going to jump straight into everything that I would like to share with you. Before that, I'll moan just a little bit more. I do have in a basket sitting right over there Beanie-tastic number 11's batch, which there was no chance in heck that I was going to get a moment of silence last week to actually share all those joyful makes with you. And on my very busy desk over here, I already have the beginnings of batch 12 for Beanie-tastic. And then on my chair over there, I did complete a mosaic project that's very recent, which I haven't shown because I also gathered a whole lot of other bits and bobs of mosaic crochet that I've done over the last, I think it's 2 years. How I dipped my toes into mosaic crochet because it can seem overwhelming sometimes. And it is slow going until you find yourself a rhythm or the type of mosaic crocheting that you'd like to do. But I'd like it to have its time for me to tell a story with it. So that's also sitting over there. But in the meantime, I have tried to stay sane. And, things are not going really well if you even get yourself a project where you need a lot of concentration and you would enjoy that challenge under normal circumstances, whether you were feeling down or not. And even that just took forever. So we are always giving people the benefit of the doubt and optimistic and pray for strength to get through challenging situations, and we will continue to do that. And as this week starts, I am going to get stuck into more crochet projects and try and do them with a little bit more oomph than I have over the last week. Well, I couldn't hear myself think over the last week, so I can understand why my crochet, that is so therapeutic to many of us for many reasons, it just struggled to swim to the surface and actually shine. But we do have some great makes off the hook, and I don't even know where I ended off last time, so I'm going to start with hashtag Crochet Relate 2025. I do have in my book here week 4, and that was the color pink and sea life. And this was, I never thought the last 2 makes for Crochet Relate would ever get off my hook. And somehow when I really just put my mind to it, I did manage to disappear into the world of crochet for a little bit. So for Color Pink and Sea Life, I have made these before and I've enjoyed making them, and I decided to use the Color Pink and do a pufferfish by one of the sea animal patterns from Rnata. It's a pattern pack that you get. I don't know if we're going to be able to see that. Beautiful little sea animals. There's an orca, pufferfish, a sailfish, a walrus, a seal, and a crab, and they are by Rnata. I have made all of them before. They are great to make even for a baby mobile. So if you do use a small weight yarn, they actually turn out to be the perfect size for a little baby mobile. Otherwise, they're just beautiful sea animals to have around. And I think the last time I made them, I did, it was as book buddies, a buddy to have with you, a sea life creature buddy to have with you when the little ones are reading books. So anyway, I did use this yarn, Hubba Respect. It is 85% acrylic and 15% polyester. It is Okotex standard and it's recycled acrylic. And I used this gorgeous pink and this white. And we had a happy little pufferfish off the hook. So the pufferfish is made as one big ball with the two fins, and the little spikes you crochet as you're making the piece. And then there's two little eyes and the little mouth section. Or is it a nose? I'm not sure. But anyway, he was a fun little chap off the hook and in the color pink. So I was happy to get that one done. And then staying with Crochet Roulette for a second. Gosh, I really wasn't sure I would get anything out. And yet again, this was the project I decided to grab and seriously challenge myself, because this was for week 5, I think. Yep, this was the one we just did now. And it was pastel colors and safari. And I chose to do an elephant that I've done many times in the past. It's a pattern Hooked by Katie. I think it's her Love Elephants. I haven't done one in a very long time. But I decided, when I was feeling this anxious that to try and calm myself down, I decided I would put myself in a situation I actually don't like to be with crochet, and then conquer that not so great feeling by producing something that did make me feel very happy. So I made Hooked by Katie's Love Elephant, and I did use our cottons, and my goodness, I went for a 4-ply. This is not something I would normally use to make an amigurumi out of, but I did, and I used a 2mm hook, and this gorgeous giant in the wild, and we do have an elephant park not too far away from us, about an hour 20 minutes drive, and we love to get out there when we can, which is maybe once a year. And so this gentle giant in the wild, these beautiful, majestic animals, these elephants. This one is only 13 centimeters. And I just added the little mouth section I did do the ears a bit differently. It's quite tricky to work with a 2mm and a 4-ply cotton, but I think I did also fiddle a little bit with the trunk a little bit differently, but I think it turned out to be a mighty tiny elephant. And at least I did get to go out into the garden to one of the old tree stumps and have a little photo shoot with this blush pastel color Eddie elephant and his little embroidered eyes. Yes, he really did make me smile, this tiny mighty animal. They look like such gentle giants when you meet them in real life. But I tell you what, you can feel the power that they have within them when you see them just lounging around in a little water pool, or spraying water over them to cool themselves off in a late afternoon hot summer's day. I don't know why we often find ourselves out there when it's really hot and you actually want to seek shade yourself, so you make sure you try and get yourself to one of the water holes, and then you'll see the animals come in, and it's majestic. I love these little creatures. So that was Crochet Roulette, and I did get to be creative and take my mind off of things. I also completed, and this was the Great Pumpkin Cowl with Lynn from Lynn Penguin's Creations. And the last project that we had is a pattern by, thank goodness I have things written down. This is by Repeat Crafter Me. I think she uses, and it is something you can download from Yarn Inspirations. I think she uses the pumpkin in a blanket. There is a tutorial that she does as well, and that is to create these little pumpkin coasters. The pattern that you download from Yarn Inspirations, there's a certain amount of rounds that you follow, and then obviously you don't do the blanket, but you just do the little pumpkin. It has its curlicue and its little stem, and I made 4 of these, and these are all going to my daughter in her new place, and she's going to be able to use them as coasters or as some bunting. And the 4 that I made come from the same yarn ball that I used to make the wheat stitch pumpkin. So at least Mommy's color matching a little bit there for you. And that was using Charity's DK Pool Skin in the colorway Mandarin Duck. And I do have a little bit left. So we'll see what other projects I make out of it. But it really does, it made all of these different colors sort of really go well together as a set. And they're not totally pumpkin color, but I think she'd be able to use them for more than one occasion. So that was, what else was there? Oh, and then, silly me, I thought I'd crochet myself emotional support chicken. These didn't help, but they are so darling. I used a yarn that I won't even be able to put my hands on right now because I'm not sure where it is. I think it's still in the project bag. But I did get to make 2 plushies. These chickens, they're made with the Kismet's Viva print. I think it was, I will remember to show it randomly somewhere in one of my other episodes. Or there is a little bit left. I'm sure I might make some more out of it. But the colorway was salted caramel. It is the Kismet's velvet print. And these were some scraps that I had that were Lee's Voluto. I did embroider the eyes. But I thought this colorway called salted caramel, I thought it actually striped these little chickens rather well. And I have no idea why the one is a bit smaller than the other one. Oh, I do. Sorry, memory's coming back ever so slowly. This is a pattern that I've made in the past with acrylic yarn, and it's by Grizzly_Mama on Instagram. This was quite a few years ago, and it does have a round bottom. And I think when I made it the second time round, I just, because I'm using plush yarn, not an acrylic yarn, I did just change the bottom. I think I just started the bottom later, because this one gives you that little bit of a, hello, welcome to the lighting in here. It is quite a cloudy grey day outside at the moment. Anyway, so this one has sort of that, that jolly little round curve at the bottom, and I just made it flatter. So this one does sit, but it wobbles over, and this one sits quite nicely. And I used a 5mm crochet hook, and I did put here for myself, I modified it slightly. I didn't even read my notes. But anyway, I think I need a much bigger chicken. And I know I have written down quite a few patterns that I have seen from some of the other channels. I just hadn't got round to actually doing any of them. I was sort of going back to some of those that I'm familiar with. So I did get 2 plushies done during the week. And then also I started and finished an MJ's Old Town Tea. And again, why did this one come off the hook so quickly? That's because, again, wonderfully, my youngest actually requested it, and she loves it, and I just can't believe that I'm making some of these things and they're wearing them, and they're really enjoying these makes. This one I used Owl Yarn's Chick in the colorway Seaborn. It's this colorway. And I used a 4mm hook and a 4.5mm hook, and that was it's MJ's Old Town Tea. And what's so nice about some of these patterns is obviously you have the pattern, you have the sizing, and then especially with her being here, then we can just fit it on and change the length a little bit if we need to, or shorten the arms or lengthen the arms. But there it is. All I did was the rounds. She did want it a little bit longer for where she wanted it to sit when she was wearing a skirt or her pants. I did do the scallop bottom, and even though we crochet these items, sometimes you can forget what's the back and what's the front. And if I had to say to her, just remember when you're putting it on, look for the half double crochets in the front, that's the front side for you. She gave me a very cute look. So I did add a little heart on here for her that I've just stitched on. doesn't take away from the piece as a whole, or it doesn't make it not look grown up as a wearable. But so that way she would know what was the front side when she puts it on. And I will also add a little leather tag here, like I have for them in the past with some of the wearables I've made my girls, handmade with love. But we'll get to that. But so this was so unbelievably quick. I thought it would take much longer. But once she'd fitted it on once and I measured the length with the skirt and the pants that she wanted to wear it with, it's one of those makes that you can, well, it's the granny stitch, that you can just sit down and, well, I couldn't listen to or watch anything, so I just mindlessly almost closed my eyes and just started hooking it and getting it off the hook. And then there was one final thing before I leave you that I did want to share with you, and this was also manic crocheting, just wanting to get your mind off of things that are happening. And those of you that have seen my corner to corner house squares that I'm doing, look, I'm all organized for December's one. I was trying to take all the yarn balls from the colors that I've had and put them into their little containers ready, so that I knew what yarn scraps I would still be using, because you are left with many little balls of yarn from your color changings from all the squares that we've made so far. And I had quite a few colors that won't go into the last three squares that are left for the year. And I put the colors down in front of my husband and I said, okay, babes, I don't normally, with my yarn end blankets, I normally just put my hand into the bin that the yarn ends are in, take out the next color, and off we go with crocheting. But I did give these to him because there were quite a few. And I just said to him, well, line them up the way you would see them from darkest to lightest, say for instance, just so that I could put them in the container and I would crochet them into. Also, if you've been with me at the beginning of the year, once or twice, I have showed that I started a yarn ends rectangle granny square blanket last year, and during the course of this year, every time I've had yarn ends, I have been adding it to this blanket, but I was ready to round it off. So all those yarn ends, I wouldn't remember exactly where I started now. I just know that we did start with this red color over here, cranberry color, and I managed to get from all the yarn ends, I managed to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds added onto this rectangle granny. And of course, some pieces, like if we did follow that red, it went on around the corner and then it stopped there, and then I picked up the next color, which there wasn't much of, and then we swapped to this color. So it was many of these colors from these last 7 rounds I will remember came from all the corner to corner house squares that I made. And then I did have some black yarn that I've had for quite a long time and I haven't used in a project. And when all the yarn ends were finished, I added on 2 rounds with the black yarn, and then the very last round I did half double crochet in between each of the stitches and into the chain. So I still ended up only doing 3 basically, because I wasn't going into the double crochets, I was just going into the space, into the space, into the space. And for whatever reason, I added 7 double crochets in the corners to sort of give it like a little ear. And this is the completed yarn ends blanket. It does fit a double bed. It doesn't drape over a double bed, but it does fit the top of a double bed. So isn't it amazing what we can accomplish with our yarn ends? And it does make me happy to just see how all these random colors, so from last year sometime until this time this year, I'd say most probably about a year of yarn ends from various amigurumis and other projects that I've done, have all gone into this rectangle granny. And I had to put a hippo applique. Oh gosh, I can't remember right now whose applique that is. I think it's Nella's Cottage. I have a few of her appliques, and I had added that one last year already, just into the center there. So there we go, a happy ending for all these yarn ends into a wonderful handmade squishy yarny blanket. I've yabbered enough. It was just great to sit down for a few moments and feel normal, although I know there is a bell going off in the background, and it will continue to go off until I go and acknowledge that it went off and actually turn it off completely. Thank you so much to everybody. Last week I've been watching everybody's videos, looking at Instagram. Half the time I have such a headache, I don't even think I can reply properly to some of the videos that I've watched, or I have to rewatch them and rewatch them just to hear what's happening. Even with the volume turned up. But that's the way things go sometimes. It's just lovely that I was able to sit down. Beanie-tastic 11 and my mosaic adventures will still make an appearance. Maybe only next week, when I know that there'll be some peace and quiet. But until then, I see many of you as just keeping me company on the YouTube streets, on Instagram, on Facebook. And all I can say is thank you for the yarny company. Let's keep those hooks moving with some happy crochet projects. And until I see you all again, enjoy your crafting time.